Welcome to No Notes. I'm Colby.
And I'm Alex.
And welcome back to this week's episode.
Welcome back. So, how was last night? We spent our Saturdays apart again.
Yeah, again. It was a fun evening. I caught up with some of the girlies that I haven't seen in a little bit. I randomly ended up at a house birthday party for a twink.
Did you wish him happy birthday from me?
I'm not even sure exactly which one it was. So
I mean, they're kind of like from the same organism. So saying happy birthday to one will get back eventually.
Kind of like a root system.
Yeah.
I will say that twink is probably a loose definition or a loose term here, because most of the people there, I think, were like later 20s.
Yeah.
So you're really stretching.
The time is ticking. I think you're a twink up until you turn 30.
I've heard 25.
Really? No. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. 30, but hard.
You know what it is? Because of COVID, we're being a little bit more.
Yes.
We're giving more allowance
leeway
with the time. Yeah. So I entered the door and then got excited at the promise of there being espresso martini, as someone announced.
Right.
It ended up being a pitcher bowl of like bottled cold brew and like cheap vodka.
Was it good?
What do you think?
No, not typically. Usually the ratios are off, and the nitro brew or whatever they use is like gross.
Yeah, I mean, in typical twink fashion, I think it was made carelessly with just a generous pour of either substance.
Yeah, but if you complained, you'd get hell.
Yeah,
they'd attack you.
It's reminding me why I'm just not a fan of drinking. But it was a cute little gathering. I had no idea who most of these people were, and I had a conversation with someone who truly looked like a younger, twinkier version of Bo and Yang, which was kind of fun.
Oh, cool.
But yeah,
shout out.
It was nice. I think there is something fun about just seeing where the night takes you.
Yeah.
And ending up at something random. They were going to some sort of party last night. There were a bunch of parties this weekend, by the way. Horse meat disco and something else. I don't know. I can't keep up with it. That's a part of being older, I guess. But yeah, I had the realization that I am past that era of my life now, and now we're the old people at parties.
Yeah. So I saw that you went to Nighthawk.
Wild Hawk. Yes. Have you been?
Yes. So I know that place because have you seen Drink Masters on Netflix?
No.
So there is it's a show on Netflix, and it's
Oh wait, is this the bar? We saw one of the bartenders out somewhere.
I don't know if you were with me, but so one of the contenders on that show is a bartender from San Francisco.
I think Ty has pointed him out before.
Yeah.
When we were at, what's that place we like in the Castro that has a little fireplace that you really like?
Oh, Last Call.
Last Call. Yeah. Okay. I think I know what you're talking about.
So he's like the general manager at that location. I've seen him there before.
Okay.
But it's a very cool bar. How did you like their dirty martinis?
Awful.
Yeah. I remember.
It tasted like movie popcorn, like AMC style stale buttered popcorn.
Yeah.
That's what it tasted like. 3 of us got the dirty martinis, and as soon as we all took a sip, you could just see it on everyone's face, which I was shocked because they have a martini menu. Love a martini menu.
Yeah.
Was really excited about the promise of that. So the general theme of last night was just bad martinis.
Yeah.
How was your night away from me?
It was fun. Got to see my parents, hang out with them. Got to talk to my EA, my executive assistant, which is Chico, family dog.
Yes. How's Chico?
He's good. Ugh, I have pictures of him. Like,
did you say hi for me?
Yeah. He's like, I love it when he's in his like donut form sleeping.
Oh.
And in his bed, or like there's another one where he becomes the shape of the bed. I'll show you later. And his like little paw, you can see his little paws. He's just so adorable.
You have your Chico, and you're kind of my Chico, my furry little dog.
Yeah. And we both have black hair.
Yeah.
So you can never tell if it's my hair or his.
And it's just all over the place.
Everywhere. But I'm just going to get it out of the way. I've been having a really bad day today. A really bad day.
Talk to me, sister.
So it all began this morning when I ordered I think it's a cold brew from Starbucks. I think it's like the salted foam, like caramel foam.
Okay.
Cold brew. Ordered it, picked it up. I took my first sip, which was outside of Starbucks, and those fuckers at Starbucks did not put the top on, and the top fell off, and about a third of just fell on my shirt.
Awful.
And I knew it was just gonna be a bad day.
Was it a good shirt? Never mind.
It was like
I'm asking you, so never mind. It was a cutoff.
It was just like a shirt that I woke up in, basically.
Yeah, that sucks.
And then I made the long trek back to San Francisco, and I realized that I had left my work laptop at home. So after this, I'm gonna have to drive back, and I'm gonna kill myself. So this is the last time you're gonna see me. What would be your last words to me?
Let me think on that.
I'll come back to you. I'll circle back.
I have a question for you though. Is life difficult when you have less neurons firing?
Yeah, I thought that my fat ass would get me through a lot in life, and now I'm like making the realization that I need more than a fat ass. Like I need an actual functioning brain.
Yeah,
and it's like I gave that up a long time ago. I sold it.
You're the scarecrow to my Dorothy.
I think I'm all three. I'm a scaredy cat.
I'm missing a brain.
Yeah, and I'm missing a heart. Goddamn. Anyways, we're gonna move on. So I think our next segment is gonna be shit we found online.
Yes.
Do you want to get us started?
Yeah. So mine is kind of random. I love to scroll TikTok. And the product placement has gotten very real lately. And I've seen something that has made my anxiety multiply by tenfold. So I'm really into like organizational and planning kind of stuff. So I get a lot of sponsored advertisement for things related to that.
And this is on TikTok?
On TikTok.
Okay.
And the latest thing I got is a fucking lifetime calendar for like all the weeks of your life. And so it's basically like each bubble on this calendar is a week of your life, and you shade it in when that week is completed. And so it's basically just in one snapshot, an overview of your entire life consolidated down to just weeks. And I both want it and I'm stressed the fuck out over it at the same time. Yeah. Like I'm basically already like a third through the like weeks because it's only populated up to 90 years.
Okay.
So whoever made that, fuck you. All right. So what did you find online this week?
So I saw a TikTok where a trainer is being very open to their followers, and he's taking Ozempic. And so the one I saw, he was like day 140, and he's down, I think, 26 pounds.
Wow.
And he owns a gym. So he's owned the gym prior to being on Ozempic. And I don't think it's actually Ozempic, but it's like one of those.
Yeah, Manjaro or one of those kind of treatments.
He was responding to a comment, and it said, how can you be a fitness influencer if you're on Ozempic? So it just got me thinking, do you think that people that are either like on Ozempic or steroids, do you think that they should be promoting their body even though that you use steroids and other enhancements?
Well, perfect subject for today's broader conversation, but I think they kind of go hand in hand, right? Like, I feel like if people are being transparent about it, I guess that's something, because so much of this aspirational bodybuilding kind of content you're seeing online, these people are all like injecting themselves with things, taking all kinds of crazy supplements.
It's insane just like how many influencers are on steroids. Like I pointed this out when this was like 6 months ago. I was with a friend working out, and she's like, oh, like there's this really big guy at the gym. I was like, oh yeah, he's like on steroids. And she was just shocked. She didn't realize that once you're past a certain size, you can't naturally get that big. And I had to explain to her, like, if anyone looks like this, they're on steroids. And if you go through, TikTok or Instagram, at least probably 75%, I would say, are on some sort of steroid or other enhancement drugs. It's just so common. Yeah.
Today, I know we wanted to talk about body image within the gay community. The steroids, I think, is a good one to bring up. In preparation for this episode, I had done a little browsing on the internet. And there's a variety of studies out there about anabolic steroid usage overall. And apparently the estimated like global usage is around 3% of the population. but that's everyone,
right?
Gay, straights, your grandma,
and that's global.
Yeah, global.
Yeah.
But in the gay population specifically, I saw a study that was done in Australia, and they took 2,700 people and surveyed them, and 13% of that population, it was a gay men, 13% of that population identified or self-identified as using anabolic steroids. And then I saw another one that was done in 2019 in San Francisco, and it was over 22% of the population.
And what year was that? Sorry.
2019.
That's insane. And
I can only imagine that in a city like New York or Miami, that those LA. Numbers are even higher.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that it's okay for people to be using steroids?
I guess I feel conflicted on this. I don't have an issue with someone using it because it's their body, and it is like, as long as they're not harming anyone else, like, look, you make the decisions that you feel like are right for you. I think the problem I have is like the amount, like what it says about our society and the sort of self-hatred that I think you have to have for yourself to get to that point, to like want to use it. And it all boils down to this pressure that I think is really amplified within the queer community to use steroids.
Yeah, I think that, I very much agree that I think anyone can do whatever they want to their body as long as they're not hurting others. But I think that it does create harm because it kind of shows not only to yourself, but to others that this is what's desired in the gay community.
Yeah.
6-pack.
When people are lying about it.
Yeah. I mean, some people are lying about it. And even the people that are open, like I think I'd rather have someone say I'm open, like, hey, I'm using steroids. Yeah. This body that I have right here is not realistic without them. You should know this.
But even still, it's kind of promoting it in a way.
It's still saying that I want to do this. I'm going to jeopardize my health because I know that this brings me social capital. Yeah.
Do you think that steroids should be legal?
I can't say that I think that they should be legal. No, because again, people can do whatever they want with their bodies, but there is no positive benefit to them that I see.
I would argue that it could be similar to a lot of like illegal drug substances, that legalizing it may ensure like more controls over the quality of it, right? Because there are a lot of downsides to using steroids.
But how would that be benefit from legalization?
So you might still have all the same risks to your cardiovascular system and all those sort of things, but I'm saying that there's a lot of crap out on the market filled with who knows what. So by legalizing it, you could in theory enact more controls that ensure like more, purity, for a better word, of the whatever you're injecting into your body. So I think like that's one argument for it, but I do think ultimately that it probably shouldn't be legalized, just because again, it will be easier to access it, and I think it will promote more usage of it than we already see, just because it's in our community, it's kind of treated like a cure-all, like muscles in general are treated like a cure-all.
Do you have the same feeling towards like something like Ozempic? What do you think about like the legalization of it for broader use outside of like diabetes? And
I can tell you that Ozempic and Mounjaro and those sort of things are definitely being abused. Like there are people that are using that to get quick results, and it's again not without risk and long-term health implications.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because like I don't use Ozempic, but people see me shirtless and they're like, "There's no way that this bitch can be this skinny without it."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of gay men are probably using Mounjaro and Ozempic as well.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I think you brought this up, but I think to more people within the population of gay people are probably taking steroids than the larger straight population.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, and we've talked about this in various ways on the podcast too, but like substance abuse just runs high in like a marginalized population, right? Like our community has long suffered rejection, shame, all those sort of things. And everybody, when it really boils down to it, just wants to like fit in and feel like they belong and they're wanted. And that's intensified in a population like ours, right? Another point you brought up earlier was that like sex as currency and like as capital. And I would say if we're being really honest, if we're being really transparent with ourselves, sex is like the most valuable commodity within our community. And so it's no surprise that...
Can you explain a little bit more what you mean by that?
Yeah, I think that it is the easiest path to gain popularity, to move up, within social classes capital. And hierarchy is your physical nature, like your build.
I will say that I always found it fascinating that within gay circles, gay porn stars are they not that they're like super high up in the social in like a social hierarchy, but we don't have the same sort of dynamics within the straight world. Like people don't go to a straight club and try to take pictures with a straight porn star. Meanwhile, in the gay community, like Austin Wolf, right? Like we've seen him in P-Town. Like people will come up to him and take pictures with him because there is sort of like a movie star aspect to gay porn stars.
I mean, I think that probably does exist in the straight world as well. It's just that because you have two different genders, like it's not like, I think a lot of women would probably might look down on like a guy for glorifying
it's more open definitely within gay circles because it's all men and sex is more,
it's a bigger part of it. I agree with that part of it. But I think it's no surprise that like because of that we are turning to these newer things like Mounjaro and Ozempic and all these sort of things to accelerate our results and get that sort of quick fix. There's this pressure. We're heading into like the warmer months now. Your social media is going to be flooded with photos of groups of largely white muscle gays and them and their 20 best friends that all have unrealistic,
all look alike,
exactly alike. I mean, their abs have abs. And so that's coming, and people are sort of desperate to sort of seek those results and fit in with those groups. What are your thoughts on social media's impact to body image and our perception of ourselves?
I see it definitely more towards like Instagram. For some reason, my TikTok is like kind of funny and like weird sciencey stuff, but for some reason
your Instagram is funny and
my TikTok is.
Oh, your TikTok is like funny.
My feed.
Have you ever thought about absorbing some of that?
But my Instagram is like if I go to my For You page, it's like shirtless men. And I don't even follow like I don't follow models or any of that stuff. I think it's because the people I do follow them. And so,
I mean, it makes sense. You follow me, it's telling the algorithm, here's the ideal body standard, show Alex more of that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. But I do see that in my like For You page. And I feel like that's where I get like kind of the sort of pressure to conform to these looks. I get a lot of the Greece, Spain, Brazil, Miami sort of feed. So I get to see like, I see all these like guys with abs, almost all white, looking good and smiling and acting like they are having like the best time. That this is what you should be striving for.
Yeah, it's kind of like a broken cycle within social media as well, right? Like you have these people that are going online to make content to feed their own insecurities, their ego, their narcissism, etc. Because at the end of the day, sex does sell. We know that. That's a basic like marketing principle. So they create this content, then people inevitably like it, promote it, etc., which is then just boosting it in algorithm. And then at the same time, it's causing them to feel insecure about themselves, compare themselves to it. And so you're just stuck in this endless cycle of people then feeling bad, then creating their own versions of that content. And then we're just stuck in this endless loop of facing our constant insecurities.
Yeah. Do you think there's a difference between how straight men are, how they should be looking versus gay men?
Absolutely. Are you familiar with like the concept of the male gaze?
Like the look?
Yeah, it's just like, constantly being attracted to the more physical nature of the human body, right? Yeah. And unlike our straight counterparts, we are either blessed or cursed with the fact that we are kind of after our own selves in a way, right? We're going after our own gender. So like like a straight man is probably not often comparing himself to the female that he's going after. Like he's not like, oh, I wish my tits look like hers, right? But we are probably more directly comparing ourselves to the person that we're dating. And oftentimes I would think that a lot of the people that we might be trying to date, it's also trying to like shield and cover up, again, some of those same insecurities. Like we want to date someone who's hotter, fitter, etc. That like signals to the world that we are also like hot, fit, etc.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like thinking back, and I like, it's not to say this mean, but like a lot of my straight friends, especially now in their 30s that are married, I feel like they look, this is bad, but like I feel like all of them had like peak physical during their 20s.
Yeah. Fizzle out.
I mean, like there isn't this like sort of societal pressure to continue to have six pack when you're married, have kids, right? Like they become
priorities shift.
Exactly. Meanwhile, gays, I feel like continue, if anything, they look better when they're in their 30s, and I shouldn't even be saying better, but they
I think what you're getting at is like, so I mean, let's be real, youth within the gay community only lasts for so long. It's basically your 20s. And every decade you get older, there's a like that pressure that you already had to like fit in gets it increases. Yeah. And so there's even more emphasis on boosting your body and trying to stay like relevant more or less. Which is why I think you're seeing that difference between like the gay and the straight community. I don't have like the numbers, and I'm sure, someone can Google it and find out, but I have seen this brought up before where women, as they start to think of longer term partners, that the emphasis on like how developed or muscular someone is falls like lower in the list of priorities. Whereas I just think with men, it constantly remains higher up the list. So again, it's our need to be able to maintain that capital within our community. I've also think I've never met a straight man who was like overly critical of his body. Certainly there are those straight men. I think it's probably increasing and becoming a bit of an epidemic like it is in the gay community with like in the bodybuilding world, where they're just so obsessed with their physical form. And there's all this emphasis with alpha males and what it means to be a man today and all those sort of things. But yeah, I've never met a straight man that didn't think he could like pull.
Yeah, definitely overshooting every single time. Yeah, they'll have like a gut, and suddenly they can pick on this, which like no girl. Shame
to them, but I'm just saying that like they just don't have to look at their body or think about their body in the same way. I think this, if I'm being, just sort of self-critical, really comes down to like growing up myself being a little I was always super skinny, always small, always more on like the effeminate side, always felt like a desire to want to get bigger, stronger as sort of like a shield to like deflect thoughts of maybe me being like gay or queer. And then there's also obviously the physical part of that, like the physical defense part of it, like being bigger means you can like protect yourself, kind of thing.
So what was your relationship like to your body when you were young?
I think that I didn't.
Were you conscious of the fact that you were skinnier than others?
At a young age, not really. It wasn't something I thought about. It probably wasn't until puberty where I felt like I was maybe delayed or not growing at the same rate as other guys.
Because of your micropenis?
Because of my micropenis. I wish. It'd be easier to fit in slimmer jeans. Just kidding. But guys around me were getting bigger, taller, and I wasn't necessarily.
So you were even shorter
than I am now? I'm average height. Are we the same height?
No,
You mean shorter than them at that period?
Yeah, like you were also developed, like you didn't hit your growth spurt until later as well. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, I was
tiny.
I feel like until probably my freshman year of high school is not when I really started to like see any real changes in my body, which was kind of weird and awkward. But so yeah, I think that's probably when I first started to become like cognizant of my own body. But I will say before that, I had already started to notice muscular bodies before that, and start like I wouldn't call it quite a sexual attraction to it because I wasn't like even aware of that's how I was feeling in that moment, if that makes sense. But I can look back now and go, oh, I think I was sexually attracted.
Yeah.
Something that sticks out to me in particular were the 1990
Abercrombie.
Well, certainly the Abercrombie ads for sure. Did you ever see the coffee table books or like magazine things they used to sell in the store at like Christmas time that was like all the rugby ads in it? And
at Abercrombie?
Yeah, they used to sell like a book every year.
That, yeah.
Yes, that's definitely one of them. And of course, the whole store and the shopping bags and everything.
The models.
Yeah. But even before that, because I would think that that was probably like in the 2000s, right?
Yeah.
But in the mid 90s, the Batman movies, there's one of them. It's either Batman Forever or Batman and Robin. I can't remember. But
the one with Robin having the
nipples.
Yeah.
Why does his suit have nipples?
I don't know, but I just the like sequence or like that sequence when they're like getting dressed.
Yes.
And like the
it kind of like highlights his pecs and nipples and then his butt.
Yeah.
But he looks 100%. So good in that suit. So that one is an early one that sticks out to me. And then the other one, which is kind of random, is Dragon Ball Z.
Yep. I can relate.
I mean, the whole point of that show, those big muscly guys that just increasingly like get bigger and bigger and work on increasing their power.
Steroids.
Yeah.
You cannot naturally get Dragon Ball Z style.
Yeah. I mean, their biceps were like the size of like basketballs.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably when I first started to become a little into the muscular, like male physique.
Yeah.
What about you?
So I remember between like 5th grade to 7th, I had like gained a little bit of weight. And I remember people point to that, like particularly like the aunts of like my family, like they would like point out like, oh, I haven't seen Alex in a while. Like we have like the saying "se mira más lleno," like which means like he looks more full. That's like a literal translation. Like I was like filling out, but not in a necessarily like a muscular way. Like I was getting chunky. And I really remember the Abercrombie models that would be outside of the store that would take pictures.
Always white,
shirtless, right? And they would just be like completely yoked. And I remember like that's when I was like, holy shit, like I need, like that's what I should look like. That's what I should be looking like.
They also could never do that today. No. They would get canceled so quickly.
Also cringe. But people, I mean, at the time were like, that sold. People would, I remember as particular.
It was peak like, sex sells, like literally sex sells.
Yeah. I mean, it was, I just remember like the glory days of Abercrombie and just I wanted to sleep with them. I wanted to be them. I wanted to dress like them. I wanted to smell like them, literally. And that was just like, it morphed my entire image. Like I wanted to have that cool look. I want to be preppy.
How funny is it that their like clone is Fierce?
Yeah, I know. Fierce Mama. God,
could not be more targeted for us.
Yeah. But then as like I had like my growth spur, I remember I like lost a ton of weight, or maybe I didn't lose weight. I just got taller, right? I just looked skinnier. And I remember people started associating that with like looking good. Mm-hmm. I would like, this is prior to me having like a gym membership, but like I would work out by like doing push-ups and sit-ups. Like around this time, this was like probably like 13, 14. And I remember like people complimented me on like having some sort of like some pecs, some abs, like toned arms. Like, and I remember feeling good when people started complimenting me going into high school. Like I felt like, okay, like this is what I should be looking like. I need to look better, get bigger. And also I wasn't athletic. Like I did wrestling, which I was really good at, but I couldn't catch a ball. I couldn't throw a ball.
Still can't catch a ball.
Still can't. Yeah. Yeah. Disastrous. I talked about the catch box a couple weeks ago.
At work.
Yeah. And I felt like the closest thing I could be to athletic was to
work out.
Yeah. And look athletic. Mm-hmm. Like that's the closest thing. That's like my ability to be masculine was to work out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I dabbled in working out a lot when I was younger, like would get sort of reinvigorated, probably from seeing an Abercrombie ad or something to like get back in the gym. But I really struggled to ever get any sort of results out of it. Always had a super high metabolism. My mom's like really tiny, and I definitely take after my mom's side more so than my dad's.
And everything gives you a tummy ache.
I do. Yeah, I am one of God's toughest tummy warriors for sure. But like never felt like I could eat enough. And so like I had long struggled with gaining any sort of mass. That sort of, I felt like kind of was an advantage to me though. Like there's a period I feel like in the younger years of being gay that being really skinny and lean is highly commoditized and like is more valuable.
Yeah, if you needed to like hide, you could go under the bed because you could still fit.
Yeah.
So you would be saved in a horror film.
Yeah, exactly. But no, what I'm getting at is that it's okay to be really lean in like in our community, like that twink sort of body aesthetic is, you know, people are into that when you're young. And so I didn't really have to think about it too much, even though I did want to get bigger. Now that I'm in my 30s and have, for all intents and purposes, aged out of being a twink, I feel more pressure than ever, I think, to increase my size and not be stuck in that small body anymore.
I kind of want to go back to your twink age.
Okay.
So you said that during that time, it felt like it was okay to be skinny, or it was more okay.
So yeah, similar to you where you're getting like praise for your muscles. Like I was getting a lot of attention and praise for like how skinny and lean I was.
And this is from other men?
Yeah. So, I mean, it kind of like grosses me out now, but until I graduated college, I didn't exceed 125 pounds.
Yeah.
Like again, I'm sure people probably thought that I had some sort of eating disorder or something. It wasn't that. Like I truly just could not gain weight, did not feel like I could eat enough. You know, I wasn't actively avoiding food or anything like that, but like I just was not gaining size. It didn't matter though. Like if I went out to the club, I mean, I could pull a lot in an evening, you know, like guys were very into my size. I also had very, very muscular big guys that were into me that like, I think probably
wanted to snap you in half.
Yeah. They liked that difference in my body frame. A guy I dated was very much like that. And trust me, he did snap me in half several times.
Which is why you walk weird
yes.
to this day.
That's why I have scoliosis now. So yeah, I didn't feel that pressure, but now, like I said, I definitely feel the pressure to get bigger. And I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier, that again, you're young for a very small snapshot of time within our community. And then past that, it just constantly feels like the pressure to stay relevant, stay attractive, something that I think is very typical with men, that we just want to feel sexually attractive, that pressure just has increased for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that I've always been complimented for like being physically fit, and I feel like
what else would you compliment you for?
I'm not smart. I can't catch anything, as stated earlier. So therefore default is I have to continue being physically fit.
Yeah.
But through like college, I would work out. I still to this day work out. I eat, you know, Monday through basically Friday, I eat pretty healthy. But I always feel like I get gratification from being complimented, which is kind of tough to say.
Yeah, it's a reward system in a way.
It's definitely a reward system. And like, it's like, I've taught myself like, okay, it's okay to feel good, but it shouldn't be like your driving force.
Yeah. I was going to say, or ask rather, do you think that you feel more motivated to work out based on like your own desire to be healthy and fit, or more so because of that reward system?
I would say that I don't know if
you have to be honest with us here.
I mean, I probably would say that it's more so that I get complimented.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's tough to say.
Well, I mean, thank you, Mama.
Thank you. Kudos
to you,
Mama.
Yeah, that's what we're about here, is being honest with each other. Yeah, I get that. And I honestly think about my own motivations for it now. Certainly, like, I am interested in feeling better when I work out because I do actually feel better. Like it has helped a lot of the issues that I have with my stomach. Like just being super transparent. Like I don't know if it's just the increased cardio or like the effect that working out has on your stress and mood levels. I'm sure it's some kind of combination of all of that.
I think it just manned you up a bit.
Made me tougher. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I do like the look and feel of having a more developed body, but I've also started to notice that the fitter I get, the more unhappy I am with the way I look, too, which I think is what we're talking about, which is body dysmorphia in itself.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say that I've been at the same level I've basically looked the same for the past probably 5 years.
This is Super Saiyan level 1?
Level 2, actually.
Okay.
It's level 2.
Nice.
So that's why my hair is, bleach blonde right now. No, but I've looked the same for about 5 years, and I know that I'm not going to probably get too much bigger ever. Like this is what I'm probably going to
I will give you some credit. I think you're a little bit bigger than when I first met you.
I just kissed my biceps.
Yeah. Do you need me to kiss them?
Thank you. But I mean, like, maybe so, but it's not so significantly different. I've like accepted this is the biggest I'm going to be, and I'm not going to do anything more to ever compromise my life. Like I'm not.
So you don't think you'll use steroids?
I don't think I don't think I'll ever use. I've never had any desire to.
Yeah.
I like the way I look now. I mean, sure, I'm going to be like, I wish I had a tinier waist, but
I don't think your waist can get much tinier.
I know.
You already
say
have
that to me again. But like, I'm always gonna have complaints or whatever. But like, basically, this is what I'm gonna look like. I know that if I wanted to get bigger, I would have to resort to a lower quality of life or take steroids. Which again, lower quality of life. I'm not willing to do that. Like I've told myself, I've had a lot of discussions. Like this is it, and I am okay with that, and I feel happy about that. What about you?
I could probably use a good cycle. I'm just kidding. I know we've joked about like, should we do a cycle or not, which to me like points out the prevalence of steroids. It's like, even in the back of my mind, like there's probably some part of me that is like, is that such a terrible idea? But
let me ask you, like, do you seriously consider, like, we've joked about it, but I've never actually thought that I would ever want to take steroids. But what about you?
It's an easy decision for me because if I even attempted to inject myself with something, I would pass out before I was able to do it. So I don't think we have to worry about me taking steroids. Now, if it starts to come in like, I don't know, an easy swallowable form or like Go-Gurt, then we might have a problem. But I don't think it's something I have to worry about for the near future. I mean, I don't know. I've certainly have like thought about, okay, like would 1 or 2 be so bad? But I think what I've sort of, the conclusion I've come to is that if you get those results and you're happy with those results, you're going to need to continue to do it to sustain it. So there's not a real point there. I agree with you that, you have your limits and you kind of have to accept like where you're
physically I'm never going to be like half the size of some of these guys on Instagram, and that's okay.
Yeah. I
still pull.
Do you? I wanted to talk about I know we talked a little bit about social media earlier in this segment, but I wanted to come back to it a little bit. I cannot stand the amount of influencers that are like using their body to promote their content. And I think it's like making all of this so much worse.
Can you give an example? Like, are you talking about like trainers?
It's everything. So we're like sort of perpetuating this cycle of liking and promoting influencers that create subpar content but have like these unrealistic bodies.
So if you are a trainer and all you do is promote your gym classes or being like your fitness app or whatever, I think that's one thing. I think
it makes sense contextually, right? Your body is a part of the product that you're selling.
I hate these social media people who do not sell like any sort of physical or fitness stuff, but we give them a platform because they're attractive and they have these beautiful bodies.
Exactly.
And I think we both know who we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to call out one specifically, like Sam Cushing.
Okay, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Such subpar content.
Oh my God. Not even subpar, it's cringe.
And it's unfortunate that, you know, he has sort of like these golden standard desirable physique within the gay community. Yeah. He's really muscular, square jaw, like all American sort of look. And so people, you know, are attracted to that, praise it, promote it, whatever. But I can't say that he's really giving anything like good to the community. In fact, he was like one of the ones during COVID that was going to Puerto Vallarta to go to circuit parties and fucking spread COVID. But we continue to amplify these people, which we're probably doing by talking about him. But there's others. I can think of, there's a baker here in San Francisco. There's another baker in Miami, and they're both making things shirtless in their underwear in the kitchen. And again, it's just like using their body to sell these products and promote their own image. And so like at some point it's like, you know, what I think it boils down to is social media is just going to make all of this so much worse. Yeah. We have taken, you talked about your straight friends and their peak body in their 20s. We've taken the straight peak form, and that's become our baseline. Yeah. I hear it from, you know, people even with their own friend circles that are unhappy with their bodies, and, you know, whether they're joking or not. I think you probably know the instance I'm talking about, but like we have a friend who's probably the fittest person that I have ever personally known. And we were at a party. He like takes his shirt off. We're having a good time. And then I was like recording a video of him because he was doing something stupid and funny. And he's like, "Oh, delete that. I don't have my summer body yet."
Yeah. Which is just insane. He's huge.
Which he could be joking. I think he probably was, but it's sort of like, it's more about what does that say to the rest of us? Because in that moment, my mind was like, oh my God, if he thinks that about his own body, what does he think about mine?
It wasn't funny because it's not like based in any sort of reality.
It's not grounded in reality. And that's like the part that I hate the most is like we have dealt with so much rejection, bullying, etc. as a community. And then we've grown up to do the exact same things to ourselves, like all over again. And I mean, I don't think there's anyone that's like probably a harsher critic than like ourselves too about our own bodies.
Yeah. And it's weird because I feel like our body image for men is something that's like not really talked about. Like I remember growing up watching Lizzie McGuire. Like do you remember there was an episode where Miranda had an eating disorder?
Yes.
Like, I feel like women, there's like a talk, like, because they obviously get a lot of pressure to be skinny and like conform to a certain look, but at least there's a discussion and it's showed in like a children's show, like Lizzie McGuire.
Yeah.
But there's no equivalent for men. We don't really openly talk about men having these pressures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's when you talk to, I guess, have you ever had like a straight person comment to you that like, oh, gay men are always so fit and you're so stylish. And so again, like we are sort of, because
we have nothing else. That's why.
Well, for some of us, that's true. But because we promote that ourselves within our own community, it's like extending to the other communities that the only form of being a gay man is being like very muscular,
successful,
having strong sex appeal. That is the precedent that we've set. And at the same time, like again, with social media and even before social media, right? Like people glamorized a certain version of the queer lifestyle. And still today, the way to seemingly best enter those circles is to have like sex appeal. Yeah. Right. And that's based on your physical body.
This is, similar and related, but what do you think about like plastic surgery altering your body?
Yeah. It's similar to steroids, I suppose. Yeah. And that obviously there's a ton of risk. And I am once again okay with people making the decisions that feel right for them. And I understand, again, the increased pressures, especially as you get older. Like I would say now, like I don't want to do any of those things, but maybe my outlook changes in 10 or 20 years.
There has to be a percentage out there. Like I'm sure we can Google something about like older gay men and what percentage of them get like Botox or, you know, a facelift. But I feel like it's very, very, very common.
Well, especially in like large metropolitan areas. But what I'm starting to see that I think is more concerning is there's a lot of push for like masculine affirming sort of treatments, like squaring out your jaw with filler and defining your cheeks and
cheek implants, or even like pecs and, you know, having plastic surgery to get that done, calves.
Yeah.
We've seen like the Ken doll guy
who I've met. Well, I've talked to him once at Atlanta Pride.
Why'd you talk to him?
He was complimenting like my shoes or something, and I was just like, "Oh, thank you." In passing, it was, and I was wanting to consult him on a BBL. I actually, if I were to get one treatment, it would be a BBL.
You would look like SpongeBob, or that SpongeBob episode where Squidward eats all the Krabby Patties and it's like a badass.
I want like Nicki Minaj level BBL, maybe more her recent work, because before it was like kind of moving all over the place. But I want one just so big that like I turn around and it knocks things off surfaces, and people ask me about it and I just deny it continuously. I'm like, no, it's always been that fat.
God, the amount of work Nicki has gotten done to her butt. Oh my gosh.
If you had to get, or would you ever get anything done, I guess?
I would say no now, but I don't have like any sort of pressure not to have, you know, Botox or something older. And that feels good to me. Like I can do whatever I want.
I don't know. You might need to think about the fine line treatment.
Why?
You're getting up there.
You don't.
Bitch, my skin doesn't wrinkle.
No, if you say so.
We're gonna end up being like Death Becomes Her. Have you seen that at the end? Like basically treating each other with heavy makeup and spray paint and stuff to hide our blemishes.
Yeah. Oh god.
Then we fall down and crack.
We're just like decapitated heads talking. Oh god.
That's basically what we are now. We talked about our body image issues growing up and like, you know, up to like college and stuff.
Yeah.
And you still work out a lot now, but how do you feel about your body these days? And like, I don't know, do you feel like your perception or awareness of your, let's say, flaws is either increasing or
flaws?
Not? Where?
No,
don't worry about it, BB.
No, I would say that it's definitely improved. Like I said earlier, like I've come to a conclusion that I can't really change my body much more. Like this is probably the best I'm going to look in the next, you know, next 3 to 5 years. Like this is probably peak. I remember I saw a older mom, she was probably middle-aged, talking to her daughter who was like a young parent. And I heard the young daughter, the daughter saying like something about her body, and her mom said, "Sweetie, like don't talk to yourself like that. Like if you think it's bad now, like it's only going to get worse when you get older." And I'm like, that is so wise. Like, why do I treat myself? You know, I have these up and down days. I feel like now my relationship to my body is so much better than it was in college, when I constantly compared myself to my straight counterparts who were bigger at that time. And now I just feel like at peace. Yes, I still sometimes look at the mirror and be like, oh, I wish I could, you know, be bigger here, skinnier there, whatever. But like overall, like my relationship to my body has improved so much, and I'm so grateful for what I've done.
Yeah.
It's taken a long time. It's a work in progress. It's up and downs, but it's definitely moved in the right direction for years now.
That's really good. I'm glad to hear that. I wish we could say that about your personality. But
what personality?
I hope that now you have the freedom to go and work on that. You know?
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I just take a personality that I see online, and emulate it for a couple of days. And
right.
then when I get
goes
bored,
from Hillary Duff to something else. Yeah.
Sometimes I want to be the quirky girl. Sometimes I want to be the pick-me girl.
We've talked about this and I've sort of alluded to it earlier, but I've definitely come to the place where I know my relationship with my own body is probably the worst that it's ever been. And I've done a lot of reflection on this. Like and
I just got to point out, like, you do look, I don't want to continue like this narrative of like people being bigger look better.
Yeah.
But I will say that I'm being honest. Like, I think you look amazing.
Oh,
like this is the best you've ever looked. And I don't want to like say that you look bad, but like I truly do believe that you look really good.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That means a lot from you. But I think it's what we were saying earlier about perception versus reality, and often that's your own perception as well. That it's constantly just being environments where you're surrounded by like these Adonises, you know, and we've talked about on this podcast, like we've spent a fair amount of time over the past year or so, like dabbling in parties and things that like we probably weren't doing a lot before. And it's made myself be a lot more self-conscious and comparing myself to a lot more people. Cause it's one thing to see people on social media and it's like, okay, that's one of like how many people, but it's another thing to go to one of these events where you're surrounded by like hundreds of people with abs on abs.
I would say like P-Town really comes to mind. I had a great time at P-Town, loved it. But I will say that maybe half of the people in these parties in P-Town are probably on steroids or something.
I agree. And it's hard to fight that internal narrative and dialogue, but it's like, okay, why do I not look the way? I mean, and you have to realize, yes, like these people are doing some kind of insane things to get the form that they're after. And you have no idea like what these people are doing in terms of like eating, right? I think there's probably a lot of eating disorders that go hand in hand with this, substance abuse, obviously, steroids, etc., to get to this form. And I think it's besides HIV and AIDS, I would say that body dysmorphia is probably one of the greatest epidemics that's ever affected like our population, because
snap.
Yeah, it's true. It transcends generations, and it's increasingly getting worse. I wish I could be the optimist to say that it's gonna improve. Like for example, I think in tangent with this, we have an obsession with masculinity in our culture. I do think we have made leeways or improvements in terms of that.
Yeah.
But even when I see creators, influencers that are more effeminate, more open about their, more emotional side, etc., they're all still like extremely fit and muscular.
They just now have painted nails.
They have painted nails. Yes. So I think that honestly, between all the editing people are doing in their photos, AI is probably not going to help that. The plastic surgery treatments and what other new things that will come up, this is just going to continue to worsen. Yeah,
I totally agree. I think that social media, we haven't resolved the underlying like social media issue, right? People are now more connected than ever. People are in bubbles. So they're continually seeing the same sort of thing. It's the algorithm. Yeah. And I don't think we've had a solution for that. And I don't think that we will get in any meaningful direction with body dysmorphia until we figure out what to do with social media algorithms.
Yeah. So given that, where do you think we go with this? Like, how do you think we continue to have, healthy sort of relationships with our body, with ourselves in context of all of this?
I think for me, it's I've learned to not only find balance, but also look forward to things and live your life. So for example, like I work out a certain number of days. When I take that couple days off, like I take that off. Like I eat whatever I want. I hang out with whoever I want. And it's not like I'm indulging in, it's not like I'm eating everything I'm seeing. I'm just not going to feel bad about eating that slice of pizza. Like, what is the point of me working out to go on vacation on the beach if I'm going to feel guilty about not being at the gym and being at the beach instead. Like, there is no point for me to look whatever I want to do. I can set goals, but once I set that goal, I should be able to live my life.
This is making me think of a particular influencer that I won't mention that posted a picture of him shirtless and in a jockstrap holding an open box of pizza, and like all the pizza was mostly gone, and he had just like the pig emoji on it. Just like how tone deaf we can be at times. Do you beat yourself up for taking days off for the gym, like especially if they weren't planned for?
I see it like in a bigger context. I think I do have a little bit of resentment if like I plan to go, work out 5 days a week and something happens. I always think of it like this isn't, one day won't kill you. Yeah. Right. If I keep missing days, that's when it's going to affect me. But I shouldn't go into each day thinking that I'm going to fall apart if I miss a gym session or if I eat something that I shouldn't. Like, it's not going to mess you up. It's a longer, what are you doing in the long run? Mm-hmm. But I think I still do feel a little bit of guilt. Like if I go 4 days away, I do have to like calm myself down, but it's definitely gotten better. Like, it's not a perfect relationship that I have with my body, but it's gotten so much better. I'm so happy where I am with my body. Yeah. It's great to hear. I hope to get to the state where I can be a little bit more lenient on myself when I miss days. I mean, I think I'm still very much in progress to where I want to get. Mm-hmm. I think I am working on a more realistic standard of like what's achievable for me without like resulting to a bunch of insane things. But like, I do think I am a little hard on myself if I miss a day, and I'll sort of get in a cycle where then I'll like stress eat or something. And then I'm just like I'm causing myself further stress and anxiety over it. So I'm still working on that aspect of it. But I will say that I think like my guidance would be for both myself and others that like feel this way is like trying to pinpoint what your triggers are and like limiting the exposure to that, at least while you can try to form more healthy habits, and think about, like your motivations, like why you're after this thing. Because I do think there's nothing wrong with wanting to be like fit and muscular at the end of the day, right? Like it is good for you. You can live a longer, more fulfilling life, etc. But it should be, for reasons that are like positive and are genuinely in your best interest and not to like please other people. Yeah, I think it's when your relationship to your body starts affecting relationship with others, is when it becomes an issue. Yeah. And also just like trying to develop a little bit more love for yourself. Yeah. Not to sex shame or anything, but I do think that sex plays too much of a role in gay society. And I think too much of anything is not a great thing. And so I think we need to find things that are more fulfilling in our daily lives, and our priorities shift, that, there's less of that pressure to feel like that you have to fit this mold, because that's such an important part of like mainstream gay life. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Well said. Well, an important conversation, I think, and one we should continue to have as a community. Continue to check in on each other, make sure we're doing well. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of cheesy, but like the world is a terrible place. Everyone's mean to us. Like, I think our relationship with our body should be a positive one, something that you are happy with. Yeah. The reality is we live like one life, and you got to make sure it's in service of you and not others. Mama, kudos for saying that. Kudos for saying that. Awesome. Well, great to chat with you, and look forward to talking to you next week. Same. See ya. See you later. Hey, it's Colby and Alex here. Thank you for listening to No Notes. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to follow us wherever you get your podcasts and share with your friends. You can also follow us on Instagram at No Notes Pod, one word, where you'll find updates on new episodes and see more into our lives and the stories that we share with you on this show. Your support means the world to us. Until next time, keep it real and keep it queer.